As we mentioned in the lecture, there are 4 types of login scripts. 3 we can modify, and 1 which is hard-coded as the default login script. And the order they are executed is container, profile, user, default. And as we explained during the lecture, the default login script is only executed if there is no user login script. Let's create ourselves a container login script first of all. So I'll refer you back to our PowerPoint. You see on this PowerPoint we've got some examples of a typical login script, and as I've mentioned, there's no point in reinventing the wheel. Let's find an example of a login script with elements that we can use and adapt for what we require. For example, one of the easiest commands to use is the write command, which basically displays a message on the screen for a user. And if we look at this example, write space quotation message close quotation, basically the message is contained within the 2 quotation marks, so it should be very easy to use and understand. So let's switch back to our virtual machine. Let's create a container login script. If you remember, our example container is the FreeNWA2 organizational unit. Being a container login script, the login script is a property of a container. In this case, our organizational unit FreeNWA2 is the container we are interested in. So let's open up the properties of the FreeNWA2 organizational unit. Right click, properties. You'll notice that across the top there's a tab called login script, and in fact this is where we can actually enter our login script in ASCII. This is just like a text editor. There's no function where it can check your login script, so making sure you actually type it in with the correct syntax and the correct format is very important. A simple mistake such as putting a space where there shouldn't be a space, or putting a dot where there shouldn't be a dot, may cause the whole login script not to work. So let's use the write command. If you remember, the write command was write space quotation mark the message you want. If we want to just show that this is the container login script, we might just say, make the message, this is the container login script for the FreeNWA2 OU. You notice that I have used capitals for the command and lowercase for the normal case, I should say, for the message. But by convention, we are only doing this by convention, meaning that it would work whether we use uppercase or not. It's just that when we use uppercase for the command and normal case for the elements of the command, it is easy to pick out which is the command and which are the elements or switches or anything else. So as a result, it makes it easier for us to troubleshoot. Let's click OK, and that's done. In order to test the login script, we must test it by logging in. Obviously, a container login script is applied to anyone with a user account that's inside that container. In this case, both our example users, Alex and Earth, are in that container, so we can test it with either one. So in order to test it, we have to use our workstation virtual machine. To save time, we won't log off and log on fully. We'll just basically right click on the little red N, open up a login screen. Remember, we must change the context to the context where the user exists. In this case, it's the users are in the FreeNWA2 organizational unit. Let's log in, like I said, with the Alex user, and this is where you enter the password that you configured. And if we click before we click OK, we need to make sure that on the script tab that we uncheck close automatically, meaning this will give us a chance to see the results of the script before the results window closes. So let's click OK now. This warning message just saying that currently I'm logged in as admin, and if I log in as Alex, it will result in me logging out as admin and logging in as Alex, losing my permissions or rights. As you can see, in the results window, there's a couple of different results. For example, the first 4 lines are information about the context, the current tree, and the server I'm logged into. You can see the next line is basically the message we configured to display from our login script of the container login script. And because there isn't any user login script at the moment, you see that this next area is actually the default login script, the result of the default login script. Okay, as you can see, our simple write command has been executed. Let's close this. Obviously, as the Alex user, we lack the rights to configure any more login scripts, so we must log back in as admin. So we'll change the context back to the context for admin, change the user count to admin, and that's the same warning as before. As you can see, admin has logged in, and now we should have the rights to be able to edit more login scripts. The next login script in the order of execution is the profile login script. So let's configure a profile login script. A profile login script is a property of the profile object, and currently we do not have a profile object. So let's create a profile object. Click on the New Objects button, select P for Profile, and click OK. In our scenario here, this profile login script will be a profile that is configured for lecturers, anyone who's a lecturer. So we'll call this lect_profile. A profile, unlike a container, is only associated with any users we select. In this case, we will only select lecturer type users. At the moment, it's an empty profile, and we must again open up the properties of the profile, and again select the login script tab, and again we can type in a login script. We'll use the write command again. Obviously this message will confirm that this is the profile login script working. Let's click OK. At the moment, we've just created a profile, configured a login script for the profile, but we have not told any users to use this profile yet. In order for a user to be able to use this profile object, they need to have the rights to see the profile object and the rights to see the properties or the login property of this object. And if you remember, that's eDirectory rights. So in order to do that, we must assign the appropriate people with the rights to access this profile object. So if you remember, eDirectory rights are assigned by right-clicking on the object, selecting trustees of this object, adding a trustee. Like I said, in this example, the lecturers will use this login script profile. So I'll assign the lecturers group as a trustee. Like I said, in order to use this profile login script, they need to be able to see, browser is good enough, the profile object. They need to be able to read the login script properties, and this is fine for what we require today. Now that lecturers have the right to use this profile, let's assign it to the Alex user, who is our example lecturer. So right click, properties, the login script tab. You notice this is where we can configure the user login script, and below that you see that there's a profile area. So here we can use the browse button to browse for the profile of our choice, and now this user will use that lect profile object as its profile login script. Let's click OK. While we're here, we can configure a user login script as well. So let's open up the properties of that specific user, select login scripts tab, and we'll use the write command again, and we'll say Alex. As you can see, I've written a message which is very specific to a single person, in this case Alex. If I had configured this message on the profile or the container login script, it would be inappropriate because many people could be using the same login script and their names won't all necessarily be Alex. Because we are editing the user login script, no other user will be using this login script except for the user that we've configured it on. So therefore we can be very specific to that user. A profile login script will be executed by any user who's been assigned the profile login script. So let's close off console1 and log back in as Alex, and hopefully we'll see all three login scripts, the container, the profile and the user login script, execute. And because of the presence of the user login script, the default login script will not be executed. Okay, let's have a look at our results. As you can see, the first 4 lines again are information about our login, where we've logged in and so forth. Then the next one you see is the container login script, then the profile, and then finally the user login script. You can see that that's the order they're actually executed, and that's the order the messages appear in our results window.